The heart, body, and brain connection. You know, we often hear about body, mind, and spirit, and we hear that the importance of the different connections and how they support health. Hi, I'm Mary Bourne. I'm a traditional naturopath, and my website is bornforhealth.com. And if you have any questions or you would like the copy of the PowerPoint, you can email me at drmary@bornforhealth.com. So, mind-heart connection. We often hear about the brain-body connection. Like I said, the heart. Well, what I want to talk about specifically, when we talk about the spirit, we're talking about the heart. We're talking about our emotions and how they connect. So links between health and emotions are found in traditional systems of medicine. In our medical community, the last 200 years, they basically separated the spirit and wanted only science. And so I think a big chunk of medical information has been lost to us due to this separation. I think now medical doctors who are looking at why their patients keep coming back and they're sick are questioning leaving out this portion of our health and how it impacts our health. So there's different figures of speech that we talk about. And of course, natural health practitioners have several ways to assess this. One is the traditional Chinese emotional connections. And if you look on the screen, we'll start with water, and this is excess fear. And for the last 3 to 4 months, we have been steeped in ridiculous fear. And it is affecting many people in their adrenal glands, which is the glands that helps deal with stress and our ability to act calmly on different situations. And when this is affected, you can see now what we're moving into. We're moving into an area away from fear and into anger, which the opposing part of wood is depression. And throughout this COVID crisis, people were seeing escalated, record-breaking depression. And what will balance this is kindness and mutual respect. So we have to balance the anger with respect. We have to calm ourselves down and move away from the anger. From this anger, we can see excess excitement, deficiency is burnout, discouragement. We've seen a lot of that. The balance is orderliness and self-discipline. How many of you can see how this works into the pattern and how we have to correct that pattern? When fire is extinguished, we have pensiveness. We have worry. Well, we've seen worry throughout this fear mongering and excess control. And the only way that we can move from this is through honesty and trust. The situation of not being able to hug, to stay 6 feet apart from each other, it encourages a sense of distrust. And I've been so opposed to any of that because I've seen the emotional damage that is occurring due to that. Over here, we see that Earth leans into metal, and we start again with anxiety, and anxiety is fueled by fear. We're dealing with chronic grief. the people that we've lost, that we've not been able to visit, the scariness of knowing you have elderly people that you can't see on a regular basis because of these rulings. And the way to balance it is through dignity and integrity. Find a way to be full of dignity and integrity. Don't lash out. Don't be mean. Just be as kind as you can, and do it through understanding self, through wisdom. So you can see, keep focusing on the balancing part, how you can oppose those that are coming at you with fear and anger and extra excitement and maybe even bodily harm. Over here, you can see that the physical part of these emotions are impacts on our kidney, our bladder, our adrenals, on the wood, the anger and depression, liver and gallbladder. So supporting these organs will be beneficial in you helping to maintain that balance. Fire, excitement, stress impacts the heart, the small intestine, circulation, and the glands. So like all of the glands are involved in this. The pituitary, the pineal, that's why we're having difficulty sleeping. So the next is the earth, and you look at what organs are impacted is the stomach, the spleen, and the pancreas. And then metal is the colon, the lungs, the skin, and the immune system. We think of metal as the organs of immune system. And they're the ones that are affected by viruses and bacteria and things that are trying to tear down our immune system. But when we're anxious, that tears down our immune system as well. And then we have iridology. So there's something called RAID, iridology. And in this chart, you can see the different, if there are like spots or different aspects. If you have a microphone on, would you please mute it for this part of the seminar, and then we'll bring you all back together after we're done with questions. So this chart I thought was extremely interesting, and you can get these off of Google Images. And you know, if you want to study this, I think between the Chinese chart and this particular chart, I could do a whole hour class just on this. But we want to just show how many different areas of medicine that relate to how the emotions relate to our physical conditions. So when you look at the RAID connections, lungs, compassion and grief, the breast, nurturing and affection. So if you are having a situation with breasts where you have breast cancer or lumps in the breast, pain in the breast, think about your own nurturing. Are you taking care of yourself? Are you loving yourself? Thyroid is blocked communication, and we're going to have a whole class on that shortly, either late summer or fall, talking about how there's so many thyroid problems these days, and it's because of we don't feel like we can communicate with other people. Well, when you're wearing a mask, it's really difficult to communicate with people. So how about kidney? There's guilt and self-esteem. We have to look at that. The gallbladder is anger and the adrenal, fear. Pancreas is jealousy, and the heart is heartbreak and inability to communicate. And here's the Western four elements. For some reason, I have an annotation here that we have to clear. There. So we have the Western four elements, which is the air, fire, earth, and water. And if you look at the comparisons on the outside, the extrovert, the controlling, the introvert, and yielding, those are all of the Western elements. We have fire, which is fire. Somebody needs to mute their microphone, please. We're hearing disturbances. Extroverted, controlling, anger, and aggression. The earth is black bile. Now, this is an old time when you're full of toxins and you need to do some cleansing. So this would be too introverted, too controlled, depressed, or melancholy. Those are signs that you could do well with some kind of a cleanse. Then we have the water, where this time of the year, there's so much wet. The last 2 days, it's been really wet, and it'll bring up phlegm, or thickened phlegm, or allergies, those type of things. And so the emotions of that are introverted, flexible, grief, and sadness. So we have to look at how we can improve these particular emotions and their impact on our physical health. All right, now I have to make an adjustment here. So go back to this. And somehow my screen is stuck. So excuse me for a minute while I fix this. Still doesn't want to go. There we go. All right. There we go. Sorry about this. You would think by now I would have this down pat. All right, so fear, anxiety, stress, and worry. So fear is triggered by danger. And we know this, we have all experienced it. In the last 4 months, we have felt that this virus was going to be the doom of society. And we recognize now that we know it, that it isn't even considered a pandemic anymore. It's now considered an epidemic, and it is really slowed down, despite what you're hearing from different media sources and our governor. So she wants to keep us fear-filled so we can follow her law. But anxiety, stress, and worry are outgrowths of unresolved fear. She's also put in there that we don't know when this is going to end. You know, she wants to keep that element of fear right up there. So all of these emotions affect health in many ways, and I'm really, really concerned about the health of people knowing how emotions affect our health. And I'm hoping that you share these videos with other people so that they can understand that these emotions are causing detrimental effects on our health. So disease in general can also cause fear. So, if you get a diagnosis of like cancer or some kind of a chronic disease, that it can be a really big concern. It can strike fear in you. And um, we also know that to squash fear, you need knowledge. You need knowledge on what has been done before, how you can work with it, how you can correct it. We know that diet, nutrition have a huge impact in our health. And so we need to look at that. And with every fear, there's risk. And life is full of risks, both big and small. We have over 300,000 viruses that inhabit our body. And yet we're concerned with this one virus that has been shown to be less than 1% death rate. It's absolutely ludicrous when you look at the numbers. So where there is risk involvement, there is an action that must be taken. And action requires an assessment of danger. So when you make a vaccine, there is supposed to be an assessment of the danger. That means how many people will get a bad action from this particular drug or vaccine. There's always a risk assessment. Unfortunately, with the vaccines that are being developed for this COVID, there is no risk. It's going directly to the public, and we are the guinea pigs in finding out how this vaccine is going to respond with different body types. So we need to take action. And wherever you find a way to do that, that mates with what you feel is comfortable, whether it's simply turning off the news, that's an action, okay? So fear in the face of danger is a normal and healthy thing to do. So let's look at fear response. So it activates the fight, flight, or freeze response. And I love this particular, what do you call it, picture, dealing with pressure. So let's read, activates our maximum physical potential to help us survive. So we know, okay, I should not run out in the middle of the street. There's an inherent fear in us. We do not want to touch a hot stove. That fear sometimes was a learned fear. Sometimes it was put in by our parent, but we know not to stick our finger in a light, a socket. So fear causes us to instinctively react in dangerous situations, but shuts down critical thought. So when we take a deep breath and calm down and go, wait a minute, wait just one single minute. I have a green light. I can cross this street. I have the right to cross this street. So where clear risk versus benefits must be logically weighed, we have to calm down to engage the logical mind. And many of the people I'm seeing or talking to are so involved in the fear and following instructions that they're not taking the time to get into their logical mind and figure it out. So when we are in the freeze mode, we go to play. Now, what might that play look like? Maybe for some it's prayer. Just change that L to an R. Maybe for some it's watch TV. maybe for some, it's play a game. In the fight response, for some people, go run. It's action. It's a quick response. I got to get out of here. In the flight, in the flight response, it could be a run. In the fight response, it might be to maybe attack, maybe to get on Facebook and make a declaration of some sort, defend your ground, so to speak. Now, you also see that there are this lack of heart sudden aggression should actually be purple, because when you add red and blue, you get purple. And that's lack of heart and it's sudden aggression. And we're seeing so much of that. And it's, under the title of BML, but we know that there are actual infiltrators in that movement that only want to cause harm. Then there are those that feel sabotaged or betrayed, and they continue to sabotage themselves. They put roadblocks. They try to lose weight, but they get to a certain point and they put a roadblock there and they can never get to their goal. Maybe it's because they don't deserve it or feel like they don't deserve it. But we need to look at this logically. And then the last one is when you add the yellow and blue and you get this green, and that's when you evade. And now there are people, those are the people that just turn a blind eye. They're not going to be dealing with it. I'm only focusing on me, and I don't care if the world falls apart around me, and my grandchildren can handle whatever comes after this. I don't have to be involved. So we could see how this is all playing into what's happening today. So risk and courage. Dealing with risk takes courage. In the face of danger, we have to make a decision and then act in the best manner we can. What you feel comfortable in moving forward with. When the fear response causes us to freeze, we can become paralyzed in that face of threat, like a deer in the headlights. So we find ourselves unable to decide what to do, and we'll ask other people, and none of their answers will move us toward this out of this freeze zone. It has to come from within. The inability to take action creates anxiety. Well, maybe you can't deal with any more anxiety. So that's when you need supplements, something to help move you forward. Anxiety is a shaky feeling because the body is primed to act. Years ago, we had a cat, and we had to train that cat. It would sit on the woodpile on our front porch, and it would look down at this mouse, go in and out, in and out. And we thought it was a natural response for the cat to go after the mouse. No. So my son, Michael, took a little play mouse and attached a string, and he taught that cat how to attack the mouse. Well, after that, no problem. I mean, we got the cat so it would attack the mice. We didn't want mice around. So one day I'm sitting here having breakfast and I look out and there's the cat. And about 1.5 feet away from it is this itty bitty bunny. It is no bigger than your index finger. And it's shaking in paralyzed fear because it knows this cat is going to pounce. And how many of you have felt that way, that you're just shaking inside because you don't know what's going to happen? Well, the only way through that is to calm yourself, take a deep breath, and look at the situation. What is the next step forward. Because without calming yourself, you cannot engage your mind. And that's what's going to help you to decide which direction to go to. Calming fear to restore clear thinking. So take a deep breath. Maybe you have to take two. And think, what flower essence, because these are my answers, that are going to help move you through this. And Nature Sunshine has a marvelous one called the Stress Remedy that helps you in different stages of trauma. And it has arnica and mimulus and aspen, red clover, and a bunch of other things that help you to vibrationally engage thought and help you move forward. Now there's 3 essential oils that also do that: Atlas cedarwood, lavender, and wintergreen. But I think blending one of those with a flower essence and putting it in a cream and putting it on yourself, when you know that you're going to be in this anxiety, fear-filled situation for some time, and you can apply that, would be very, very helpful. So Star of Bethlehem is in there, rock rose, impatiens, clematis, cherry plum, and red clover. So look at all the things that you can benefit by using this particular formula. It helps with shock, following trauma, or emotional distress. Not even just following, during. Helps clear a person's mind to restore the ability to think clearly and rationally. May help release past trauma held in the body. This is something I feel everybody should have on hand, because you never know when you're going to go through a traumatic event, or when you might be able to help somebody through a traumatic event. It can help prevent getting caught up in group hysteria, like this mob situation we're seeing televised across the United States. Ridiculous, ridiculous way of responding. This is not action that produces a good, healthy response. So this is a lovely herb called Zembrin, and it's great as an anti-anxiety formula. We add to this in Anxious List B1, magnesium citrate, zinc gluconate, and of course the Zembrin plant. And it helps reduce feelings of anxiety, especially situational anxiety. So things that come up and you just don't know what to do. It aids production of calming neurotransmitters, and it is an adaptogenic. Now we know when we take adaptogenics, they help us adapt. They help us to make sense of the situation. Now, in the traditional Chinese medicine water element, we have a recipe that encourages the energy called Jing. Jing can be thought of as our basic life essence. And when we are concerned that our basic life essence, life as we know it, is threatened, that's going to deplete our Jing. And it causes premature aging. How many want to age more quickly? Well, not me. So it shortens our life. It causes stress and, excuse me, well, I have a sheet here for water reducing elements, and I'm pretty sure that this is Nature Sunshine calls it KBC, but um, I'm not sure on that. I'd have to get back with you on if you want the Nature Sunshine one on this. It could be kidney activator. I'm not sure. I think that it's between the two of them. But stress release is excessive cortisol, and that builds fat around our middle, and that is associated with premature aging. So the water energy allows us to flow with life. So it creates movement, and we know it's so mesmerizing to watch a waterfall, the movement of it. There's nothing still. It's constantly flowing, and it's just beautiful in its flow. However, if there's something that's damming it up, that can create problems. Excess fear causes us to react rather than act in the face of a difficult situation. So depleted water makes us rigid and inflexible. And as we age, we know we get drier. So we must make sure that we are nourishing this water energy. And drinking water is a huge thing. So make sure you're drinking your half your body weight in ounces of water daily, and make sure it's not chlorinated or fluoridated. Um, Now, congested water makes us sluggish. We know that. If you have allergies, if you are stuffy, cold, you feel sluggish and blah. So stress and burnout. When stress has been ongoing, it can result in what we now call post-traumatic stress disorder. And this is a syndrome. This causes a multifactional symptomatic response. It can also result in a state of nervous exhaustion that we refer to as burnout. And so we need adrenal support in this. Both of these states have also been called adrenal exhaustion. So the feeling I can't take it anymore is an important sign that one needs to support the adrenal glands. So sometimes you need the raw element of adrenal itself. Sometimes a blend of raw organ, dried organ from organic or grass-fed is the best way to do this. Maybe you want to get a grass-fed liver and start eating it. I don't know of any sources of adrenal glands, but you know, when the first Americans used to go on a hunt, they would go all together, and the person that was responsible for like drawing down the deer, that was the person who got to eat the adrenal glands. Now, the adrenal glands in animals are a storage for vitamin C, but in humans, we don't have that ability. So we need to constantly be taking vitamin C, and that will nourish our adrenal glands. I love a bee formula that Nature Sunshine, my family's been using it for years, called NutriCalm, that has been truly, truly beneficial. So support for stress and burnout, you want B complex, you want vitamin C, you want zinc, magnesium, the herbs of ashwagandha, eleuthero root, schisandra, and licorice root are all going to benefit. Ashwagandha, uh, most of these are adaptogenics, and so they can be taken by anybody with autoimmune. It isn't going to um, stimulate the immune system, but it's going to calm things down. And that's what you need if you have an autoimmune situation. And licorice root, both licorice root and yucca are very, very similar. So if you have high blood pressure and it is exacerbated by licorice root, try yucca. Yucca is also very good. Oh, all right, so then yeah, fear reducing essence blend. So this blend is Nature Sunshine has a fear reducing blend that helps you find the strength that you need to carry on. It has mountain pride flower, aspen. Aspen is an interesting tree. If you've ever seen an aspen, the leaves kind of quake. Even when there's no wind, the leaves are quaking. And so what it does, it helps the person who have this anxiety that makes them feel like they're quaking and helps them calm down. Then there's scleranthus and mimulus, serrato, blackberry flower, and red clover. You'll see red clover is in a lot of blends. These help a person take action in the face of fear, stand their ground, conquer both fears, phobias, and unknown. It has it aids you in the ability to make good decisions, and it helps a person avoid group hysteria. I mean, we need to turn off the TV. We need to not get involved in this stupid element that's running rampantly through our country. Now, anti-stress vitamins and mineral supplements. Of course, we've been told vitamin C, vitamin C, vitamin C. Vitamin B1, B2, B3, B6, B5, B9, B12, pantothenic acid is B5. So niacin is 3. All of these things in a balanced formula. Hops is a great herb to help with calming things down. Some people will go to beer, and a lot of beer is made with hops, some is not. But hops also has an estrogenic effect. And so if you drink too much beer, you might be getting, if you're a man, man boobs. So be careful about that. Passion flower is a beautiful, beautiful flower. And I could talk about 15 minutes on passion flower alone. I just love it. Valerian root, we all know how that is very calming and supportive. And Schisandra, again, another adaptogenic. Schisandra is considered a 5-flavored fruit. If you bite into it, you may taste sour, then sweet, and then salty and bitter. It's just it's just a really interesting thing. When I took my Chinese herb course, that I got to taste that, and it was really surprising. So this formula can aid neurotransmitter production and supports adrenal health, has calming properties, mild adaptogenic gland, helps rebuild the adrenal gland, and today's air, mild adaptogenic effect, and helps a person be both relaxed and energetic. And then we have the adrenal gland formula, which would be adrenal support for it. And it includes all of these adrenal substance. Borage seed. Borage is a gorgeous blue star-shaped flower, and it's just lovely. I grew it one year and was so pleased, and I haven't been able to find some, so I'm gonna have to look again because I love growing it. And I'm not sure it's supposed to be a perennial, but maybe these harsh winters killed it. So that aids feelings of burnout and PTSD, and helps rebuild the adrenal gland. So you take this for a period of time, and then you move on to a more herbal formula, because once you take adrenal substances or any raw substances, it's just to give that information to that organ. And then once it's got the information, you don't want to take over for it. You want it to then start creating its own substance. So that's really important thing to know. So anxiety and worry, I just want to make sure that we're on the right thing here. Didn't I do that? Yeah. So feeling anxious can lead a person to worry. And worry is trying to anticipate all the bad things that could happen to avoid future risks. And if you are worrying constantly, remember, you cannot engage the mindfulness it takes to counter that worry. You must take a deep breath, figure out, okay, what's my next step? How can I move forward? What can I do right now? Because that will interrupt the worry process. And if you stay in that mode, you're constantly creating this. And those people who believe in the law of attraction understand that worry is harmful, because you are all the time you're in the worry mode, you're drawing more worry to you. So you need to get away from that worry mode. So it's impossible to anticipate everything that's going to happen in this world. Who could anticipate that we would be locked down for the last 3.5 months? I mean, February and March, we were on vacation, enjoying ourselves. And then all of a sudden we come home and boom, nothing. Wear masks. Be concerned. So worry and digestion have very close relationship here. Those people that worry incessantly end up with symptoms of irritable bowel. So worry adversely affects digestion, whether it's worry about self or others. We know when we're going through something very upsetting, most of us can't eat, or we go the other way and indulge. So it depends on your modus operandi, on whether you're going to eat too much or you're not going to be able to eat at all. And so the stress created by worry inhibits both digestive secretions, and it slows down your ability to eliminate. So worry can cause indigestion, gas, bloating, and constipation. So when you see chronic digestive problems in a person and you're trying to help them, ask them what they're worried about. Figure out with them how you can move forward and start maybe giving them a distress remedy or something to move them forward. Even just smelling peppermint oil sometimes can help them move forward, or a cup of chamomile tea. So here's aids for worry. Red chestnut, when you have obsessive worry and fear over other people. White chestnut is worrisome, repetitive thoughts, chattering mind. And the Chinese earth reducing formula, or the Chinese earth increasing formula. And if you want Nature Sunshine's key to these particular remedies, just email me at drmary@bornforhealth.com, and I will send you off a PDF of that. So let's talk about grief and sadness. It's pretty natural to grieve when we lose someone we love. It's also normal to grieve when something important to us is lost or destroyed, a pet, or we have maybe the loss of a home or the loss of a job. So grief is a way of expressing our pain and acknowledging our loss. So first there's acknowledgement. Then, okay, now I know this is to be true. How can I move forward? What's my next step? Take a deep breath. So a lot of times we need to express our grief and we want to share it with others. When an animal is threatened, what it will do, if, for example, if there's a row, a line of animals, and a coyote will attack the last animal, And if that animal gets away, the first thing the pack does is engulf this animal and let it know the pack is with you. We're sorry this happened, and help them to get in touch with this fear and know that people care about them or animals. Now, why can this happen in the animal world and not in the human world? Why can we not hug each other anymore? Why can we not embrace and let each other know, or at least give a handshake? This fist bumping thing, there's no engagement. When you grab somebody's hand, you are passing energy back to that person. Fist bumping, shoulder hit, that none of that passes in energetic information to that person of compassion. So we need to seek empathy, and we need to share our empathetic side. And if that scares you, then I'm sorry for you. Grief and the metal element. In TCM, that's traditional Chinese medicine, grief damages the metal element with lungs. So we know our immune system is compromised when we're going through grief. We have to help that person. That's why in past experiences, when somebody dies, the neighborhood provides food for that person. They bring them food, they share and show compassion. What's happening now? We have to stay 6 feet apart. This is adding to that harm to our immune system. The metal element represents the body's defensive ability. We can't defend ourselves when we're filled with grief and sorrow. It's all we can do to deal with our own emotions. So when you get stuck in grief, it can begin to cause problems with their lungs and immune system. And how many of our seniors are grieving? They're maybe in a facility that they're not happy with, or maybe they're grieving their loss of their family support. Finding ways for them to deal with their situation is paramount. Also, giving them nutrition to support their immune system is absolute. So a person is more prone to congestion, colds, influenza, and pneumonia when grieving. So grief can also increase the risk of immune disorders such as cancer and lymphoma, leukemia, lupus, and rheumatoid arthritis. So anytime you see a compromised immune system, you have to look, okay, is there grief? What is it that you're sad about and haven't come to terms? And how can we help you move forward? So, grieving to death. According to an article in US News, the widowhood effect, or could be widow effect, the increased likelihood for a recently widowed person to die has been well studied. Previous studies have shown that mortality increases anywhere from 40 to 90% in the 3 months following the death of a spouse, and lingers at 15% during the months after. Now, this can be applied to a parent losing a child. This isn't just about widows, even though this is the study that is quoted here in the US News. And you can find that by just going to health.usnews.com/healthcare for, and you can see a suggestion in Google for that article. Help people grieve. Grieving takes time, 6 months to a year for serious losses, and sometimes more. People need emotional support when grieving. A grieving person doesn't need advice, platitudes, oh, it's going to be all right, or get over it. It's been 6 months, time to move on. Any other shallow attempt is just that. What they need is basically silence from you so that they can talk. They need to express. They need to let that breath out so that when you let deep breath out, the body needs to inspire. It needs to bring in energy. But when you do shallow breathing, it cannot do that. You need to empty the lungs in order to allow new air to come in. And you can't do it with a mask on. So give people a shoulder to cry on and understanding, be present, listen, 2 ears, 1 mouth, hugs. And maybe that person isn't comfortable with you hugging. Maybe you can touch their knee. Maybe you can, like this woman is doing, touch the shoulder. If you can only be 6 feet apart and that's what that person is comfortable with, then concern can be shown through your eyes. Look at the compassion in that woman's eyes. That can show through. So grief and depression, while there are many reasons why a person can feel depressed, one of the most common is grief. Depression is a common part of the grieving process. We want to know why we're depressed. If we can get to the bottom of it, good, we can move on from that. If we can't get to the bottom of it, how we feel, not a fact, but how we feel about the fact. Sharing the fact that my friend died, my husband, that isn't going to help. You need to find out, and how does this make you feel? And that way, your compassion can come through. So grief and sadness flower essence, there's a self-heal flower. It's a gorgeous little purple flower. Love Lies Bleeding. Now, some of you may not like the name of that flower, but it is quite an interesting name. Love Lies Bleeding. I mean, a lot of times that's what we feel like we're doing, that our love is just bleeding out of us. Chicory flower, bleeding heart. I have a white bleeding heart, so it's a bloodless heart plant, and I find it very interesting. Chrysanthemum flower, borage again, and yellow star tulip. I have those are gorgeous. Yellow star tulip. Look that one up on Google Images. This particular formula helps a person rediscover their inner strength and helps them with the grieving process. It helps promote courage in the face of their loss. In fact, courage is be courageous is part of the formula. So it helps them find meaning in their suffering. So aromatherapy for grief. And you can see in this wreath pine and eucalyptus. Now, rose, we know. Rose is a wonderful scent for helping move grief. It helps the heart. We have a formula that we created. It's called a Heart Healthy Cream, and it includes rose oil. And if you want that formula, just email me at drmary@bornforhealth.com. So then we have lemon balm, which I grow, and I make lots of remedies with lemon balm. It's a wonderful aid to depression, and it helps with grief. It is great for anybody with an autoimmune condition because it calms the immune system. There's a whole book written about Melissa, and you can find it, I think, still on Google. Pine and eucalyptus helps a person breathe freely again. Most of the time when you see a pine tree, your instinct is to get close to it and take a deep breath. Now, the stuff that they have in craft stores that they call eucalyptus, it's fake stuff, and you do not want to inhale deeply of that stuff. It's toxic. So this is a beautiful plant to grow, and it looks just like that. So frankincense and myrrh help to aid meditation. These are both in the gum family of herbs, and they support meditation, spirituality, and self-esteem. So if you want to do some, like that middle part of that first chart I showed you, where it said play, and you want to pray, and you're having difficulty getting into it, do some frankincense, diffuse it, and it helps for you to get into that. These are the Magi gifts along with gold. So defeat and depression. Depression can also follow a significant setback or defeat. This includes becoming chronically ill, people suffering from cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, and diabetes all have high rates of depression. And so moving through this may be a constant effort. So helping yourself with some kind of herbal antidepressive may be what you need to do. There's the borage flower. Isn't that gorgeous? That star-like, and it's that brilliant blue, just like that. So flower essences of borage, which is courage in the face of defeat or adversity. You can see how its little bloom is down. It starts down, and as the sun hits it, it rises up and shows its face. It's really quite interesting. Black cohosh is when you feel trapped and wrestling with darkness. So if you feel like you're constantly at war with this depression, then this can help. Elm, feeling overwhelmed. Mustard is mood swings. The aromatherapy, any citrus can help move you through. I love pink grapefruit, but lemon, lime, orange, red mandarin, they're all invigorating, rejuvenating, restoring, and playful. They can do this. And so you can find those in combination and inspire. Rosemary clears the mind and aids self-worth. Jasmine and ylang ylang bring feelings of comfort and peace. So herbal remedies for depression. Herbs are Damiana, depression from exhaustion, loss of sex drive. St. John's wort. Some birds have gifted me with St. John's wort, and I've been making some remedies with them for a few years now. I love it. It's wonderful for skin conditions. Actually, if you take St. John's wort in like herbal capsules, it's going to make you more photosynthesis, so more sensitive to the sun's rays. So if you are used to sunbathing for an hour, you may only be able to do it for like 45 minutes before starting to get burned. So you have to be careful about that. But the interesting thing is that you can make a lotion with St. John's wort, and it will protect you from the sun. I just love God's gifts as herbs. So mimosa is great for depression from grief and emotional shutdown. Lemon balm, again, is Melissa, depression from grief. And the nutrient SAMe is a wonderful support. We did about a year ago a class on the neurotransmitters and helping with methylation. And SAMe was one of the primary things you can do to move that energy out of the liver. And magnesium helps to reduce anxiety, aid energy. Now you have to be careful about the type of magnesium. There's some magnesium that are digested in the colon and work well to move the colon. There's 5-HTP, which helps upregulate serotonin. So if you're taking this and you're also taking serotonin reuptakes, then you want to make sure you're taking them separately and under the guidance of your doctor. Now, there's Qi regulating formulas. There's, I'm not going to name all of the Chinese herbs in there. The most common of those are ginseng, ginger, and dong quai and licorice. But the benefits are lifts energy and mood, helps a person stand up straight. And so it used to be called the upright Qi. And so you've seen people who are depressed, they kind of slump over, their shoulders are turned inward, and they don't have a good posture. So this helps to build posture, and it can ease congestion and digestive problems and reduce anxiety. So anger, irritability, and aggression. Anger can arise from both hurt and fear. Now, this picture kind of, whatever this gal is saying. I have heard your anger so much, whatever. I don't care anymore. Just go on with it. So anger is the fight in the stress response. It's the way some people respond to fear. And it's a good way to release, maybe to shout, but to continually use anger like we're seeing in these mob scenes is ridiculous. It does you no good. It does nobody good. So it is, we understand they're hurt. Their hurt may be unfounded in some people because the way they're going about it is irresponsible. But anger is not a bad emotion. It is motivating. In healthy people, it can provoke us to do something about it. It's this unresolved, continuous anger. It's like on fire. And it can create, the constant part of it is everything irritates you. When people get stuck in this anger thing, everything irritates them. They're easily upset over the smallest thing, and they lose their temper at everyone. Excess anger damages relationships. It also damages the health of the person who harbors it. They often sabotage their relationships. They're stuck in this cycle of basically hate. They hate themselves. They hate everything. So anger reducing flower essence formula, this keep cool is what they need. They need to keep cool. Calendula flower essence, snapdragon, because they're snapping at everyone. Impatience, because they're impatient with everyone. Vine flower essence, they're clinging to this whatever. And holly flower essence, pretty face flower essence. I had to look that one up. It really is a pretty flower. Helps a person think before speaking, aids them in becoming more aware of how their words and actions affect those around them, and helps them relax their need to control and open their heart to love and cooperation instead of this mob mentality thing. I hate you. That's what anger is saying. Anger and the liver gallbladder response. In traditional Chinese medicine, anger is associated with the liver and gallbladder meridians. Too much anger is said to damage the liver. This is acknowledged in the West when we talk about the gall of bitterness, or say, that person galls me. Anger also damages the heart and circulation. Remember, it creates congestion. When you have a heart condition, the threat is congestive heart failure. So anger and heart disease. Type A personalities who are more angry and aggressive are more prone to cardiovascular disease than type B personalities who are easygoing. However, those type B personalities may harbor anger in their heart. They may show, oh yeah, things are great, oh yeah, but in their heart, they're ready to strike out. And these are the people that will be mass murderers. The neighbors will say, he was the nicest guy. I can't believe he went up there and shot everybody. So think about the relationship between hardening your heart and hardening of the arteries. People who are angry may produce higher levels of C-reactive proteins. So this is a test you can get. Most doctors do it. They measure C-reactive proteins, and that's an inflammatory marker. It also, unfortunately, when you're dealing with inflammation, it may be because you're dealing with infection. So you can't have this condition of so dealing with infection and go have your C-reactive protein tested, because it will skew the test. Anger as a symptom of toxicity. So anger and irritability can be a symptom indicating that the liver is overwhelmed with irritants. Now's the time to do a good liver cleanse. And in Chinese medicine, that's called Tiao, Tiao He. So that's a liver. And then, so you could find a cleanse that would help Tao He. So the liver processes toxins for removal from the body by way of the gallbladder and kidneys. It also breaks down the hormones. Excuse me a minute, there we go. Also breaks down the hormones and neurotransmitters involved in fear and aggression. All this isolation, when I talk for too long, my voice isn't used to it. When it can't do its job properly, a person can feel galled or stuck. So if you're feeling stuck, move on with, whoops, excuse me now. I just admitted somebody and I have to create an, if I can, there. So the Chinese wood reducing formula. Blue perm is a great herb. It is used as a calmative for irritated autoimmune, for inflamed autoimmune conditions of the thyroid. And it is used along with Melissa or lemon balm. So those two, along with magnesium, are some of the things we're going to discuss when we talk about the thyroid in a couple of months. Now, the benefits of this is that it reduces irritability and anger, aids liver detoxification, releases sadness and pain from the liver. Who knew that these could be held in the liver? We think of the liver as holding fear and depression, but it also, the underlying part of it is sadness and pain from loss, grief. So it helps in digestive functions. There's a special cellular cleansing formula that if you want to know what that is, we can talk about that in an email at drmary@bornforhealth.com. Excuse me. But basically you want to detox the cellular condition. So there's a lot of wonderful herbs in there. It helps digestion, liver and lymphatic function, and urinary function. Love this chart. If you want a separate picture of this chart, I can make that available to you as well if you want to study it a little further. But briefly, it's a quick look at anger, irritability, and easy loss of temper. It may indicate problems with liver, gallbladder, and spleen, and signals possible need to support the liver and detoxify the body. So it relates emotions and how you can help with those emotions. And basically, we've discussed those. The health problems emotions can cause are also things that we discussed, irritability, anger, easy. They can create inflammation and risk of heart disease or problems with the liver and gallbladder and urinary system. Fear and acute anxiety can elevate blood pressure and heart rate, causes muscle tension, inhibits digestion, and interferes with rational thought. So what do we need to do? Take deep breaths, try to move forward. What can I do in my next step? Grief and sadness may damage the lungs, contributing to asthma, infections, or COPD, and it may weaken circulation. Worry, chronic stress, weakens the nerves and adrenal glands and may cause chronic digestive weakness. So enzymes would help, things that would help our digestive system like ginger, um, foods that would be easy on digestion. Depression may cause a person not care for themselves properly, which indirectly contributes to obesity, diabetes, and other chronic illnesses. And we know the relationship to sanitation and cleanliness and disease. So that's a no-brainer. So our next class will be August 8th. So look for that. I will post that, and I will be sending emails to my regular people. We're going to talk about working with chronic Lyme disease, which is summertime, that and all, ticks and mosquitoes and all of these different things. I will interject different things on that. So if you want the recording of that particular one, please visit my YouTube channel for more classes. I want to thank you for joining me today. This is Dr. Mary at forumforhealth.com, and I look forward to our next month meeting. And for my regulars, if you just hang on for a minute, we'll have a class discussion. Let me just do one more thing here. I have to get to end. So screen share, stop.